Hello everyone. So we will continue our discussion on network attached storage. So in yesterday's class we have discussed about file sharing, network file sharing. So with respect to file sharing, we have discussed that it is a structured way to store and organize the data files, whereas network file sharing refers to storing and accessing files over a network. Apart from that, we have discussed about the components of network attached storage. So in this particular case, the network head and the storage arrays are the mere components, and also these were network, or what you can say, the NAS head, okay, is consists of CPU and memory, and also it consists of one or more network interface cards. Thirdly, it consists of optimized operating system, and also it consists of file sharing protocols like NFS and CIFS. Finally, it consists of industry standard storage protocols and ports to connect the storage devices. So, and also apart from that, we have discussed about network attached storage IO operation. So in this particular case, there were 4 operations that does. So 2 operations related to block IO and 2 operations related to file IO, which exclusively performs the NAS IO operation. So request from client is been satisfied by your NAS device using what you can say, the storage arrays. Okay. So this is about NAS IO operation. So in today's lecture, we will discuss about the NAS file sharing protocols. Okay. So yesterday we have just highlighted that it consists of only NFS and CIFS protocols for file sharing. Okay. So we'll just throw more light on these particular protocols today. So to continue with this, so as depicted in the slide, most of the NAS devices support multiple file service protocols to handle the file IO request to a remote file system. As discussed earlier, the NFS and CIFS are the common protocols for file sharing. NAS devices enables users to share file data across different operating environments and provide a means for users to migrate transparently from one operating system to another operating system. So with respect to this, as in the slide it is depicted that the 2 main NAS file sharing protocols those are NFS, that is Network File System Protocol, which is traditionally an Unix environment file sharing protocol. And also the second protocol is CIFS, which is Common Internet File System Protocol. So it is a traditional Microsoft environment file sharing protocol based upon server message block protocol. Okay, that is SMB we normally call it. Okay, so it is a Microsoft what I can say, the product also you can say. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. So as with respect to the first protocol here, Network File System Protocol, which is an client server application based and uses RPC mechanisms over TCP protocol. So here NFS is a client-server protocol for file sharing that is commonly used on Unix systems. NFS was originally based on the connectionless user datagram protocol, which is popularly known as a UDP protocol. It uses machine-independent model to represent user data. It also uses remote procedure calls, that is nothing but RPCs, as a method of inter-process communication between two computers. The NFS protocol provides a set of RPCs, that is remote procedure calls, to access remote file system for the operations such as searching files and directories, searching files and directories, opening, reading, writing to, opening, reading, writing to a file, or instead of or you can say it as closing of a file. Apart from these operations, it also helps in changing file attributes, and finally it helps in performing the operation like modifying file links and directories. So our NFS protocol provides these following operations, that are searching files and directories, opening, reading, writing to and closing of a file, changing the file attributes, modifying the file links and directories. So in a nutshell, we can say that this client server application, which enables a computer user view and optionally stores and update files on remote computer as though they were on the user's own computer. It uses remote procedure calls to communicate between the computers. The user system requires an NFS client to connect to NFS server. Since the NFS server and client use TCP/IP to transfer files, and also TCP/IP must be installed on both the systems. So using this network file system protocol, the user or a system administrator can mount all or portion of a file system. Okay, so mount points grant access to a remote hierarchical file structures for local file system and structures. Access to the mount can be controlled by the permissions. Okay, so therefore, so using this NFS, the user or the system administrator can mount all or portion of a file system. Portion of a file system means it is an hierarchical tree in any file directory and subdirectory. The portion of a file system which is mounted can be controlled by using the permissions, that is read only or read write permissions. Okay, so overall you can say that this NFS creates a connection between the client and the remote system to transfer data. And apart from that, we can say that this NFS is a stateless protocol. Okay, it is called as a stateless protocol. Means what? Means it does not maintain any kind of table to store information about open files and associated pointers. Okay, means it does not maintain any information about the files that are open. So that's why it is called as a stateless protocol. It doesn't maintain any state of the files that are currently being used. Okay, so that's why it is called as a stateless protocol. Therefore, each call provides a full set of arguments to access files on the server. These arguments include a file handle reference to the file, a particularly position to read or write, and the versions of NFS. Okay, so there are three different versions of this particular NFS protocol. Let us see what are those. So we have NFS version 2, we have NFS version 3, we have NFS version 4, which is the latest version of NFS, we can say. Okay, so NFS version 2 was stateless and uses UDP as the transport layer protocol. Okay, so this NFS version 2 uses UDP to provide the stateless network connection between the client and server. Features, it provides features like locking are handled outside the protocol. Okay, so it provides the file locking facility, but although this particular version is also stateless. Okay, then the next version is NFS version 3, which is an added TCP as an option, means TCP is optional in this case for transport layer protocol. So in this case, the most commonly used version, this version 3 is, which uses both UDP or TCP and is based on stateless protocol design. Okay, so here in this case it has added a TCP as an option. Means what? Here it provides both the transport layer services using either UDP or TCP. So therefore TCP is an optional one here. So, and also apart from this particular version is also stateless protocol. Okay, it doesn't maintain any status of the files that are currently being used. It includes some new features such as 64-bit file size, asynchronous writes, and also additional file attributes to reduce the refetching of files. Okay, so these are the some of the additional features that NFS version 3 includes or provides. Then finally we have NFS version 4, which is a stateful protocol. Okay, so here in this case version 2 and version 3 are stateless protocol, whereas the version 4 V4 is a stateful protocol. So it uses TCP and is based on stateful protocol design, which aimed to provide support to cluster server deployment, and also it allows scalable parallel access to the files distributed among multiple servers. Means here it offers an enhanced security. Means these are some of the features of this NFS version 4. The latest NFS version 4.1 is an enhancement of NFS version 4, and it includes some new features such as session model, parallel NFS, which is known as PNFS, and also it provides a facility of data retention. These are some of the features of version 4.1, that is the latest one. Okay, so these are the different what you can say the versions and their uses of what you can say network file system. So in a nutshell we can say this NFS can be stateful and stateless protocol. Okay, so whereas in version 2 and version 3 are stateless and version 4 is stateful. So both these options are available for an enterprise. So depending on the requirement and the data security options that are required, based on that, these particular versions can be utilized. So after understanding this client server protocol called NFS, next we will move to the second protocol of NFS, that is Common Internet File System. Okay, that is CIFS. So CIFS is also a public version of the server message block protocol. So it is an SMB protocol. So client applications access files on computer running server applications that accept the SMB protocol. Better control of files than FTP is possible with respect to this file system. Potentially, this particular protocol is better access than the web browsers and HTTPs. Okay, so this is the what is the advantage of this particular file system. Okay, so let us put more light on these particular points. So CIFS is also a client server application protocol which enables client programs to make requests for files and services on remote computers over TCP/IP. It is public or open variation of server message block protocol. Okay, so here in this case, this is a public version. It can be open also based on the server message block protocol. The CIFS protocol enables remote clients to gain access to files on the server. CIFS enables file sharing with other clients by using special locks. File names in CIFS are encoded using Unicode characters. Okay, so this is important here. So file names are in this particular protocol are encoded using Unicode characters. And in this particular case, apart from that, it is developed by Microsoft in 1996. An enhanced version of the server message block protocol. This is this CIFS is an what you can say the improvement of SMB protocol. You can say it is a stateful protocol, means it automatically restore the connections and reopen files that were open prior to the interruption in case of failure. Means it keeps track of the status of the files that are open. So that's what the meaning of stateful. So it operates at the application or presentation layer of the OSI model, most commonly used with Microsoft operating systems, but it is platform independent. CIFS runs over TCP/IP and uses domain naming service for name resolution. Okay, so these are some of the points to provide the better features to ensure the data integrity. It uses file and record locking to prevent users from overwriting the work of another user on a file or a record. And also it supports fault tolerance and can automatically restore connections and reopen files that were open prior to an interruption. The fault tolerance features of CIFS depend on whether an application is written to take advantage of these features. Moreover, CIFS is a stateful protocol because CIFS server maintains connection information regarding every connected client. If a network failure or CIFS server failure occurs, the client receives a disconnection notification. User disruption is minimized if the application has the embedded intelligence to restore the connection. However, if the embedded intelligence is missing, the user must take steps to re-establish the CIFS connection. So overall, we can say that this CIFS can be viewed as a complement to the existing Internet application protocol such as FTP and HTTP. So this protocol allows client to get access to the files that are local to the server and read and write to them, share files with other clients using special locks, restore connections automatically in case of network failure, and it uses Unicode file names. So in general, CIFS gives a client user better control of files than your file transfer protocol. It provides a potentially more direct interface to the server programs than currently available through web browser and the HTTP protocol. Okay, so this is what your CIFS is. Okay, so this why this has become popular means it is better than the FTP protocol that we normally use for file sharing applications. Okay, so in an enterprise with an NAS device, this CIFS is worth protocol to use instead of your FTP protocol. So these are the two what I can say the file sharing protocols, that is network file system protocol and the CIFS, which is common internet file system. So after discussing these file sharing protocols, let us discuss about the NAS connectivity. So try to relate your Internet ISO OSI model to this particular Internet protocol suite, that is the NAS layers or the protocols. So just see the slide here. So in the left side we have an ISO OSI model, and this is the TCP/IP protocol suite in this particular case. So your CIFS, or what you can say your NAS device, actually makes use of these particular layers, that is especially the transport and the network layer. For transport layer it makes use of TCP and UDP protocols, and at the network layer it makes use of IP protocols in conjunction with NFS and CIFS protocols. So while CIFS and NFS are file system protocols, it is important to understand how the network transport protocols like IP, TCP and FTP fit into this in this particular picture. OSI model developed using ISO standards defines the specific layers that are responsible for communication tasks. Okay, so this already you were aware of. The Internet protocol suite, that is TCP/IP protocol suite, defines a group of open systems protocol that communicate across interconnected networks, whether it may be LAN or WAN. This suite includes both lower layer protocols, that is IP and TCP, as well as common applications such as emails, your terminal emulation, FTP, etc. IP is a network layer protocol that contains addressing information and some control information, enabling packets to be routed. In NAS, the backend connects to its storage most often using fiber channel interconnectivity, and the front end client connectivity most often via the TCP/IP protocol. If any client wants to access a file from NAS system, it requests the file directly. The NAS system then converts this request in block level access and retrieves data from storage and presents data to client as a complete file. Okay, so this is how the NAS system converts the request from request in at a block level access, which is very essential from client's point of view. Okay, so this is what the closer look at both ISO OSI and the TCP/IP protocol suite with respect to NAS is concerned. Okay. So after understanding the file sharing protocols, next we will put some light on the NAS implementations. So with respect to NAS implementation, there are three common implementations are available. First one is unified, second one is gateway, third one is scale out. Unified implementation, gateway implementation, scale out implementation. So under NAS implementation, we have unified implementation, gateway implementation, and scale out implementation. So this particular figure shows the connectivity of a unified approach, that is unified implementation. So as I have told that there are three common NAS implementations are available, which are unified, gateway, and scale out. The unified NAS consolidates NAS based and SAN based data access. Okay, storage area, SAN means storage area network based data access within the unified storage platform, and provides a unified management interface for managing both these environments. Okay, means this particular unified approach incorporates or supports both network attached storage technology as well as SAN, that is SAN. What is that SAN? Storage area networks. Okay, both these what I can say, the implementations are support for both these implementations are supported by this unified application. That's why the name is unification or unified implementation. So both these structures are, or what I can say, the architectures are supported in this case. Whereas in a gateway implementation, NAS device uses external storage to store and retrieve data, and unlike unified storage, there are separate administrative tasks for the NAS device and the storage. Okay, so mainly this gateway implementation concentrates on the external storage and storage to store and retrieve the data. Okay, whereas the third option, that is the scale out implementation, It pulls multiple nodes together in a cluster. A node may consist of either NAS head or storage, or both NAS head and storage. The cluster performs the NAS operation as a single entity. Okay. So let us discuss one by one, starting from the unified implementation. Okay. So let us have a closer look at this particular figure of unified approach. So it clearly explains the unified NAS connectivity. We have different hosts here. We have fiber channel hosts, we have ISCSI hosts, we have NAS clients present. So all these parties are interacting with respect to the different network protocols. So we have an FC SAN. So unification, I have told, it is both SAN and NAS, both are possible. It supports both the technologies. So as per that, the FC host is what you can say, interacting with FC SAN storage, and we have an ISCSI host. ISCSI is also an SAN, what you can say, the protocol. And also we have a NAS client who is communicating with the Ethernet at the lower layer. So this is an unified NAS storage device which consists of both head as well as the storage arrays, or it might consist of head or storage. Both are possible. So our FC host is connected to unified NAS device using an FC port, and ISCSI host connected to an unified NAS device using ISCSI port. So both these are block level data access, whereas NAS client is accessing the file through an Ethernet port. So in this particular infrastructure, this unified NAS performs file serving and storing of file data, along with providing access to block level data. It supports both CIFS and NFS protocols for file access, and ISCSI and FC protocols for block level access. Due to consolidation of NAS based and SAN based access on a single storage platform, unified NAS reduces an organization's infrastructure and management cost. Okay, so both these platforms are supported in this particular case. So in this unified NAS contains one or more NAS heads and storage in a single system. NAS heads are connected to the storage controllers, which provide access to the storage. These storage controllers also provide connectivity to ISCSI and FC host. The storage may consist of different drive types such as SAS, ATA, fiber channel, FC, and flash drives to meet different workload requirements. Okay. So these are the different, what you can say, the facilities provided by this unified approach. Okay. So it provides different ports for an respective client or a host to have an access to the storage arrays. So with respect to this unified NAS connectivity, each NAS head is head in a unified NAS has front-end Ethernet ports. So this is an Ethernet port. Front-end Ethernet ports which connect to the IP network. The front-end ports provide connectivity to the client and service of file IO requests. Okay, so at the Ethernet level, so it is an file access. So file IO, what I can say, access is been provided to the client using this particular port. So the front-end ports provide connectivity to the client and service the file IO request. Each NAS head has block end ports to provide connectivity to the storage controllers. ISCSI and FC ports on storage controller enables host to access the storage directly or through a storage network at the block level, okay, as shown in the figure. So this is the block level accesses. So this particular structure is known as unified or unification implementation. Then coming to the next slide, which is about the NAS gateways. So this particular figure shows about the gateway implementation, gateway NAS connectivity. So we have so many clients have an access to an NAS gateway using your IP protocol. So this is an NAS gateway. We have various application servers, which in turn attach to our fiber channel storage area networks, and in turn we have an storage array, NAS storage array kept there. So here a gateway NAS device consists of one or more NAS heads, okay, and uses external and independently managed storage, okay. So it is an external independently managed storage array and which is being managed by your NAS head, okay. There can be one or more than one NAS heads are present depending on the load. Similar to unified NAS, the storage is shared with other applications that use block level IO. Management functions in this type of solution are more complex than those in unified NAS environment because there are separate administrative tasks for the NAS head and the storage. A gateway solution can use the fiber channel infrastructure such as switches and directories for accessing SAN attached storage arrays and direct attached storage arrays. The gateway NAS is more scalable compared to your unified NAS because NAS heads and storage arrays can be independently scaled up when required. For example, NAS heads can be added to scale up the NAS device performance. When the storage limit is reached, it can scale up, adding capacity on the storage area network, independent of NAS heads. Similar to the unified NAS, a gateway NAS also enables high utilization of storage capacity by sharing it with the storage area network environment. So overall, considering this particular discussion, we can say that this configuration is a backend storage. In this configuration, it consists of backend storage which is shared between different types of application servers which are connected to the storage area networks and NAS heads. Different types of backend storage can be attached to one NAS head. The NAS head boots from one storage and users pool storage for clients from the other storage. So this is what the typical SAN setup we can say, where the NAS head works as a gateway to a SAN environment. So this is nothing but your NAS head, which is acting as a gateway between the SAN application servers. So this NAS gateways provide the same benefits and characteristics as of NAS, that is network attached storage device, which connects to IP network. Yes, these NAS device connects to IP networks. It performs file server operation. Heterogeneous file sharing is possible here. Data protection is provided. Diagnostic capabilities are possible from administrative aspects. Clustering and failover features are also possible here. So these are some of the characteristics of these gateways. These NAS gateways gives you the combined benefits of NAS and SAN, which are nothing but SAN scalability and performance, NAS flexibility and ease of use. It increases the reach of SAN infrastructure, definitely. Extends beyond topology limitations of fiber channel. It provides IP device access to SAN storage. Leverages the value of SAN investment, and also it reduces the access costs. It allows access to underutilized SAN storage. Means what? The efficient usage of SAN storage is ensured by your gateway, NAS gateways. That is one of the major feature of this particular implementation. It enables heterogeneous file serving operations. So some NAS gateway designs offer multiple connectivity options, FC switches, hubs, directors, RAID controllers, disk arrays. So all these connectivity options are possible with respect to gateways concerned. So in a nutshell, we can say that in this gateway solution, the front-end connectivity is similar to that in unified storage solution. Communication between NAS gateway and the storage system in a gateway solution is achieved through a traditional FC SAN. To deploy a gateway NAS solution, factors such as multiple paths for data, redundant fabrics, and load distribution must be considered in this particular case. Implementations of both this what I can say, the gateway and the unified implementation is concerned, we can conclude that implement of both these implementations, that is unified and gateway solutions, require analysis of SAN environment. This analysis is required to determine the feasibility of combining the NAS workload with SAN workload. Analyze the SAN to determine whether the workload is primarily read or write, and if it is a random or sequential. Also determine the predominant IO size in the use. Typically, NAS workloads are random with small IO sizes. Introducing sequential workload with random workloads can be disruptive to the sequential workload. Therefore, it is recommended to separate the NAS and SAN disks. Also, determine whether the NAS workload performs adequately with configured cache in the storage system. So this is what your what I can say unified and the gateway implementation. So I think in today's lecture we have discussed about the file sharing protocols and its usage like NFS and CIFS, and we have discussed two implementations, NAS implementations. One is unified approach and the gateway connectivity. So I think the other one, the scale out implementation and the associated features, I think we will discuss in the next video. Okay, thank you very much.